Have you seen this boy? All T1000 jokes aside, I'm betting a lot of you know this face as Kappa, the sarcastic or trollish and good fun Twitch emote from the internet. But did you know that a Kappa is much more than a sarcastic face or a Greek letter? The Kappa, in fact, has its roots in Japanese mythology as one of the most outlandish creatures ever to exist. Oh, and did we mention, they're coming for your butts. Thanks so much to Incogni for helping to keep people's personal data personal. Kappa are kame of the water, aka a force of nature, neither fully good nor evil, objects of both reverence and fear. And they live in fresh water all around Japan. But one of the most popular spots to find them is behind the Yokenji Temple in the city of Tono, Japan. There, beside a clear stream in a wooded grove, there is a shrine to these mischievous creatures, and it's said that Kappa can still be found there to this day. Though sightings of Kappa are relatively rare, stories of Kappa have passed down for generations, because really it's pretty hard to forget one once you've seen it. Each of these little kame is about the size of a child, with the face of a monkey, the beak and shell of a turtle, and a plate-shaped depression on its head that's full of water. But make no mistake, friend, despite their small size, Kappa can be very dangerous. Back in the early days of Tono, one of the monks had brought his horse to the clear river to drink, but as he waited, a terrible smell began to seep from behind a tree. Aghast and gagging, the monk went to examine its origins, but to his surprise, there was nothing there. Flummoxed, he returned to the horse, who was still taking a deep, long drink. Maybe like a little too long? Whoa there, slow down, buddy. Wait, was the horse's whole head underwater? The monk rushed to the water's edge to see a pair of webbed hands around the horse's muzzle pulling. It was a Kappa trying to drag his steed into its watery home. So furiously, the monk clawed at the greenish arm to save the mare and managed to pry a single arm free. Then, with a Herculean effort, the monk yanked the arm towards the riverbank, hoping the creature would be weaker out of the water. He pulled and pulled and pulled some more. What the? Looking back at his horse's attacker, the monk discovered that the Kappa's arm had nearly doubled in length, to which he then did a double take, but no, he wasn't seeing things. Though the skilly arm wasn't stretched per se, kinda seemed like the Kappa's arms were connected through the middle of the shell and the monk was pulling them both through. With a newfound sense of vigor, the monk continued to pull harder and harder until he fell back with a splash, holding one Kappa's arms in his grasp. But perhaps even more surprising was the Kappa itself, because it didn't seem in pain or even particularly surprised that its arm or arms had come clean off. It simply stood up, ignored the horse, and became perfectly still, just staring at the monk. It was actually pretty creepy. And there they were, two adversaries staring at each other in silence for quite some time, until suddenly the Kappa asked, "Might I have my arm back?" Now, if it shocked the monk to hear human language coming from a turtle bill, he didn't show it. And with the poise that only a monk could muster, he responded, yes, the Kappa could have his arms back, but only if he apologized. And so, it did. And then some, actually. Because you see, the Kappa is an honorable kame. When the monk returned its arm, it went from drowning horses to being a protector of the area. It's even said that years later, when a fire broke out at the temple, a number of Kappa appeared and poured water from their heads onto the flames to put it out, saving the structure. Heck, even these days, at that small shrine on the bank dedicated to the Kappa, it's said that pregnant women who pray there will have an abundance of milk, which I guess is also a thing that Kappa can do. But pre-deal Kappa are not only dangerous to horses. They are chaotic entities after all, and are just as likely to be caught peeking up kimonos as surprising grown men and challenging them to sumo matches. Though their chaos can be more dire, they've been known to drown people who fail to best their inhuman strength, and to catch children by the legs and pull them into watery graves. Meaning no one was ever completely safe near the waters, so sometimes a Kappa needed to be caught. But hold on, if a Kappa is strong enough to drown a horse, how would anyone even go about trying to catch one? It's not like we can pull their arms off every time. Well, that is where a little bit of knowledge can be really clutch. Over generations of capture attempts, Kappa weaknesses were discovered that have aided in dealing with the mischievous creatures. The first rule is that they hate iron, as do most mythical creatures of the same period. They also have an obsession with cucumbers for some reason. Some sources believe that's because they are a predominantly male spirit, and the cucumber can be seen as sort of a pre-internet stand-in for an eggplant emoji. Actually, another one of the Kappa's favorite foods. But, you know, the one thing that the Kappa loves most of all is something that we always have with us. Our human butts. Well, it's not the but exactly. What a Kappa actually wants is your shirikodama, a mythical organ that holds part of your soul, which can be easily accessed through your rear. So, close enough. It's believed that the Kappa want the shirikodama because drowning victims, Kappa-related or otherwise, are often found with their backs raised. And to an untrained eye, it can look like something was forcibly removed from their rear. But for the Kappa, a shirikodama is very real. Some sources say that they eat it. Others think it's a tribute to another kami. But either way, oh boy do the Kappa want them dearly. So the earliest Kappa fishermen used humans as bait. The foolhardy soul would walk to the water's edge and pull down their drawers, letting that full moon just shine across the river, while the others in their party would set a trap. Oh, and the Kappa would go for it. But as we know, Kappa are strong enough to drown a horse, so to pacify it, the fishers would use a curious trick. They would treat the Kappa with respect and bow to them. Because remember, Kappa, despite their chaotic nature, are honorable creatures. So if you bow to a Kappa, they will bow back in kind. And if you manage to bow deep enough, when the Kappa bends over, the water from its dome will spill, which strips them of their strength. Moreover, it's said that if you can refill the plate on their head, they will obey you, or at the very least stop causing you trouble. But if a fisherman was not strong enough to remove a limb, or unable to bow deep enough that the Kappa would lose its water, they still had one final explosive weapon: stank. Yeah, in what is quickly becoming the oddest episode of Extra Mythology we've ever done, now is the time that I tell you that Kappa love to fart. They even have 3 buttholes just so they can fart as much as they want. One of their favorite non-lethal pranks is to unleash a torrent on an unsuspecting human, and have reportedly passed gas so violently that it capsized a boat. But even with all of that, the weirdest thing is, they hate the smell of human farts. So to scare one away, you can forego politeness entirely and just let one rip. It can distract them enough to get away, sure, but beware, because they're likely to come back and cause mischief for you another day. So, if you ever get near the water's edge in Japan, be sure to keep an eye out for these chaotic creatures. Guard your cucumbers, be ready with your deepest bow, and if you ever feel scared, just know that farting is always an excellent choice. Kappa. But all internet memes aside, today is actually a bittersweet day around our animated campfire. For our illustrious Extra Mythology and So You Haven't Read illustrator, Jordan will be setting down his weekly EM stylus to move on to other awesome artistic endeavors. And I think I speak for all of our viewers and of course the EC crew when I say that, Jordan, your work has been nothing short of extraordinary. Working with you has been a joy. Thank you so much for lending your incredible talent to help us talk about some of the world's most important literature and myths. I'm gonna miss you, bud. The shows are not gonna be the same without you. And it's only now in my sappy rambling that I just realized that you would have to probably do this animation saying goodbye to you. And that felt a little weird, so I asked Allie to do it. Thank you, Allie. So everybody down in the comments, please show Jordan some love. And yeah, bud, thank you for everything. And I truly cannot wait to see what you do next. But, look at me, getting all personal on the internet. And wouldn't you know it, it's just on a week where I'm about to start talking about a service I use to help keep personal data off of the internet. So until we started working with Incogni, I really had no idea about how much information was being sold and published by data brokers online. And also how many people search sites there were putting up personal info on the internet for everyone to see, which really does make it almost impossible to keep my data private on my own. Not to mention your data being sold can lead to any number of issues, ranging from the constant annoyance of robocalls all the way up to the absolutely catastrophic stuff like identity theft. But now with Incogni, I am not alone in this fight, because after a very speedy sign-up, they got to work bombarding these shadowy parasites with takedown notices to remove my personal info. Plus, they keep the pressure on, using local laws and ordinances to make sure my data stays removed for good. And I get to keep track of it all through their real-time dashboard and email updates. Heck, I opened my inbox this morning to see that 97 removal requests had been completed in only a few months. Let's go! So if you want to keep your personal data, your personal data, right now you can get 60% off Incogni by visiting incogni.com/extra credits, and then use our code extra credits. You can click right here to get started, and then once you've ruined a data broker's day, why not reward yourself with another of our videos here? Thanks so much to Michael Hoggett, Kuya Koi, Joseph Lane, Izzy Coin, Dominic Valenciana, Arcalite Games, Angelo Valenciana, and Ahmed Ziad Turk.